everyone, and welcome to today's episode. We're going to be talking about Spies, Lies, and Alibis by Natalie Walters. So, this one is a romantic suspense novel and it fits within the clean and wholesome fiction category in the romance genre, and it's a standalone story. So, why did I want to read this one? Well, I was intrigued when I saw this one, totally intrigued by the premise, because I really enjoy reading rom-coms that are spy novels. I love that rom-com combination. And so this one I looked at and I thought, yes, I definitely must read it. And I definitely have not regretted reading it. So I'm going to add my usual disclaimer and say many thanks to the publisher who provided an advance reader copy, and all the opinions that I express in this episode are completely my own. So let's talk about the book. Spies, Lies, and Alibis by Natalie Walters set in Texas. So we're in Dallas in the city, and we also have a very quick trip to Italy, which is really fun. So this one has a number of romance and suspense tropes. So it's a rom-com, so we have all those rom-com vibes that I love. It's also the romance has childhood and teen sweethearts with a twist. So our characters knew each other when they were younger, but it wasn't the typical childhood sweethearts background. It was a bit more complicated. So we have the cousin's best friend is another trope in this one. We have second chances and enemies to love with a twist. And it's a spy novel. So we also have a protector hero, which also has a bit of a twist on it as well. And we have danger from both known and unknown sources. We've got international intrigue and espionage, which is really fun. And our main characters are both spies and they're both working undercover and they are not working together, which makes life very complicated and interesting. There's a lot of conflict that goes with that. So we have mysteries to solve in the story. And we also have the big question of who can be trusted as well. So, the first line in the story, which I'll tell you about first, is this one. The day I walked into school in my Sunday suit, my hair slicked back, and my orange juice in a martini shaker, I took from my house, I felt like the coolest kid in school. So, in this opening line, we're introduced to Ben, and he's actually thinking back to when he was in the sixth grade and what life was like back then. And so he's in his late 20s now, and he's an FBI agent, and he's a spy, and he's working undercover. And at the moment, he's working as a financial advisor. It's a big setup, a sting that the FBI has put together. So at the start of the story, if we go back to the first line in chapter one, Ben grew up to be a spy like James Bond. So he was a kid that had all these different ideas about what he'll do when he grows up. And eventually he landed on being an FBI agent. So in the opening scene, we're in Dallas in Texas. We're at the Dallas Museum of Art at a very posh fundraising gala. And so Ben is deep undercover and basically living under an assumed name and with no connection to his family. So he's basically disappeared off the planet as Ben and is under a completely different name, living a different life. And so he's got fake credentials for the fake investment firm where he's a financial advisor. And this at this gala, he's got a meeting set up with a crime boss that's very important because he needs to extract some information from this meeting. And so this cartel crime boss is into all the usual things like money laundering and arms trafficking. But this particular scalp is important to the FBI agents because this particular crime boss has murdered an FBI agent, and they're all taking that very personally. And so I'm going to introduce you to our leading lady. She's the same age as Ben. Her name's Sybil, and she's also a spy working undercover as a personal assistant. But her circumstances are slightly different because she got recruited to be a spy because of the job she was doing as opposed to necessarily working as a career spy like Ben does. I'm not going to say much more because she has dabbled in doing a few things like this for a whole bunch of different reasons that are kind of connected to the spy world. So she's got quite an interesting background. And so she's working for a wealthy Dallas businessman and his son. And the agency she's working for recruited her to spy on them. And she really needs money. She's got a mother who has accumulated some pretty huge debts over the years that she feels responsible to pay for a whole bunch of reasons. And that whole situation's very complicated. And we learn more about it in the story. So that brings us to the meet cute, which is an absolute cracker. It's at the fundraising gala and it has a bit of an unusual setup in how it rolls as well because of the way they meet. And so it is laugh out loud hilarious. It's embarrassing, it's ridiculous, and we have all the rom-com vibes that we expect in a rom-com with the meet cute as well. But the meet cute is very important, not just from a romance perspective, but it's also important for the suspense plot. So, this particular story, we have a lot of problems. We've got both of our characters at the fundraising gala who have completely failed to achieve the objectives they have as spies at this particular event. So, they both went in there working, looking to achieve things that they have failed to do. We also have the enemies to love trope, and they're not quite sure who the other person is working for and whether they can trust each other. And that's a big deal in the story and a big problem. So we have forced proximity because of who they work for and their business associates. These two are drawn together into all of the drama and all the spy games and everything that's happening. And of course, with the rom com, we've got the mutual attraction, and that's a big problem because they know each other from the past, but of course, they're trying to pretend they don't know each other. So that's all very complicated. So Ben is working deep undercover with an alibi. So he's not using his real name, but the fake name he's chosen is actually meaningful to Sybil. It goes back to when they were teenagers. So that was another little interesting, fun twist on the story. And so they recognize each other, but the problem is that they have to pretend they don't recognize each other because it's dangerous for them to know each other. And so Sybil has a whole lot of emotional baggage going back to her family of origin, the things that happened in the past, and also with what's happening with her mum, with the debts. And her mum's situation is very complicated, and Sybil feels responsible to deal with the financial consequences of what's happening with her mum as well. So she's always under financial pressure, and this job where she can work as a spy is important to her because this money's helping her to clear all these debts that she's got. And so Ben is friends with Sybil's cousin. This is going back years to when they were younger, and he's got his own emotional baggage in the story as well. And their teen romance was a bit of a disaster, and they both believe that the other person rejected them. So there were some misunderstandings that need to be resolved in the story related to that as well. So I absolutely love this story. It was a rom-com romance and it was laugh out loud funny. It was just so fun watching these two try and work out whether they can be together or not and work out their feelings and all that kind of thing. And there were some really ridiculous situations that were just hilarious. I just love the humor. And Sybil, she was really gutsy. There was not a lot that she was afraid of. And at the same time, she just couldn't stay out of trouble. It didn't matter how much she tried, she would get herself into a whole lot of spots of bother at different times. And then Ben, he was the protector hero, the dreamy James Bond, handsome and suave and sophisticated, good-looking hero who could save the day. And he's deep undercover and really worried about Sybil because he doesn't quite know who she's working for, what's going on, and whether she really is a good person or a bad person. That's the whole situation is very complicated. And so that really adds to the romantic tension in the story because they're both keeping secrets and they're both dealing with some pretty major trust issues as well. And particularly going back to that teen romance that wasn't a romance, that whole situation when they were younger that never got resolved has really complicated things. And I just love the suspense plot. It kept me guessing, and there was some really clever plot twists that I appreciate as well. And it was really a page turner that you didn't want to put down, particularly the second half of the book. You're turning the page, because you've got to know what happens next. And I just love the settings in Texas, and also that little detour to Italy was just so fun. And the ending, I love the ending, and I especially love the justice that came through from what happened at the end of the story as well. That was really satisfying and something you don't necessarily see in real life. So I always appreciate it when I see justice in stories. And so my favorite book quote, normally I only share one, but I have two this time, and they both are connected to the themes of having trust issues and all that kind of thing. So this is my first one. Trust is earned, it's steady and proven, not just felt. And so this is our main characters who are dealing with trust issues. And their occupations, being spies, really doesn't help them in terms of working out the whole trust thing. Because if you trust the wrong person and you're a spy, you're in big trouble and you could be heading for an early grave if it's the wrong person. And so they're moving in a world full of untrustworthy people, and it's really hard to work out who they can actually trust. And my second quote is kind of connected to that as well, which is this one. Maybe trust is like love, not something you guard, but something you offer, grounded not in certainty, but in faith. And there's a lot of truth in that as well. So, in terms of the story themes, trust and abandonment issues are a big theme in this story, particularly of our characters and their backgrounds. And truth and honesty was a really important story theme that was explored, and particularly the consequences of not just telling lies, but also believing lies. That was also explored. And we have forgiveness themes and the importance of justice that are also explored in the story. So, in terms of the impact on me, this story was laugh out loud hilarious. There were some crazy, silly, ridiculous situations that I just loved. And at the same time, the characters are in danger. So, I'm really worried about them and concerned that something bad's going to happen to them. And the story also made me think. So, in terms of why Sybil chose to be a spy, that's the reasons behind that are really interesting. And also her mum's situation. And her mum's been the victim of financial scams, and there's been a lot of real pain and suffering that's happened in Sybil's past. And it was really heartbreaking to see how the consequences of what happened years ago are still impacting Sybil in the present day for various reasons as well. And also, the consequences of believing lies is another thing that I was really thinking about. And not just the lies that we can believe about ourselves, because most stories you read will have characters that have false beliefs about themselves. But in this one, we really looked at the lies that other people can believe that are told about us. And in the spy world, of course, there's lots of untruths that are running around that cause a lot of trouble. So, in summary, I would recommend this book to readers who like clean and wholesome rom-coms, and especially rom-coms that are also spy novels, to readers who like laugh out funny romances that have those really cute, embarrassing moments, and to readers who like second chances and twists on the enemies to love trope, and to readers who like suspense that has international intrigue and espionage, to readers who like multiple mysteries to solve in the story, and who like spies that are not just working undercover, but are also not working with each other, which creates a lot of really fun dynamics. And to readers who like stories that explore trust issues, honesty, and the importance of justice. Thanks for joining me today. Does Spies, Lies, and Alibis sound like a book that you'd like to read? Have you read it? What did you think? You can let me know. If you're listening at the podcast, you can send me a text via a link at the show notes. If you're watching at YouTube, you can like the episode at YouTube and leave a comment at YouTube. You can also email me at my website where I have a contact form, and you'll find that at narelleatkins.com. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, and you can do that at your favorite podcasting app, or you can subscribe at YouTube, and then you'll get notified when my next episode drops. And also, if you've enjoyed this episode, please share the link with a friend, especially a friend who likes reading romantic suspense and rom-com spy novels, and also a reader who you think will enjoy reading Natalie's books. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.